I am house poor and I need help. Immediate help. That is the exact message that I received earlier on today, and I thought, well, that's interesting. How many people are house poor? How many people cannot afford their mortgage or their apartment? Now, I want to get to this because what is happening right now and the trend that we're seeing today is interesting. But I want to break all this down in just a moment, so make sure you stick around and watch this entire video. But all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So what is the definition of house poor? Well, it doesn't matter if you are a homeowner or a renter. House poor means you spend more than 30% of your monthly income on shelter. Just look at this. It says 18 million Americans are house poor, according to a new study. But you know what's even crazier? It says 54% of renters in 2023 were considered house poor. That is a massive number. Okay, 18 million Americans that are homeowners are house poor. But 54% of renters? Now let me ask you this. Okay, you don't need to tell me how much you make in a month. Okay, you don't need to tell me how much your rent is, but just answer this one question. Are you considered house poor? So for instance, let's say you have rent or a mortgage that totals $3,000 a month. Well, if you don't make more than $10,000 a month, you would be considered house poor. Now, here's what's crazy though. The average rent for an apartment here in the United States is $1,713 per month. Now, the average income needed to afford that would be $5,700 and roughly $50. That comes out to about $69,000 per year. Well, the median income for a household back in 2023 was roughly $75,000. So for the average person, they would be able to afford an average apartment. So a 1-bedroom apartment that totals $1,713 per month. But let me show you this. These are homeowners. It says 18.3 million homeowners are what the housing industry calls cost burdened or house poor. They say they pay more than 30% of their monthly income on housing. This includes the mortgage, utilities, and other costs. Now, what's crazy about this is when people come in and say, well, no, I'm perfectly fine, right? I'm not cost burdened. I'm not house poor. And then they tell me how much they actually pay. Well, their rent or their mortgage might not put them in that cost burden category. But then you tack on all of the utilities or any maintenance, and yes, millions of additional people are considered house poor. Look at this. It says high cost of living states like California, Hawaii, and New York have the largest share of house poor residents, while West Virginia, Indiana, and Arkansas have the fewest. It says keeping housing costs as a manageable level is difficult, particularly in an economy where inflation is still high. Home prices have reached record highs and mortgage rates are hovering around 7%. Keep in mind the median house price here in the U.S. is a little bit over $400,000 per year, or according to Redfin, it's about $394,000. Now I want to break something down to you. Look at this. It says here's a breakdown of the states with the highest concentration of cost-burdened homes. California with 2.2 million house poor, 1 million severely housing cost burden. I'm not sure what that even says. Hawaii, 88,000 that are house poor, 39,000 that are severely cost burden. New York, 1.1 million that are house poor, 550,000 that are severely cost burden. Here's the states with the lowest concentration. West Virginia, only 73,000 that are house poor. In Indiana, 314,000 that are house poor. And in Arkansas, 132,000 that are house poor. Now, here's what I think is interesting. Okay, look at this chart. This right here is the states that people are moving into. Okay, number one down here is Florida. Okay, right over here, Florida. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, North Carolina. Number 4, Arizona. Those are the top 4 that people are moving into. Well, guess where people are moving out of? Look at this. States people are moving out of in 2024. Number 1, California. Number 2, New York. Number 3, Washington State. And number 4, Colorado. Here's what's interesting. All these states, California, New York, Washington, and Colorado, people are moving out of those states. Well, and I'll throw in Illinois as well because of Chicago and what's going on there. But all those states, people are moving out of simply because of our policies, our laws, how we are very immigrant friendly. That's the reason why people are moving out of these states, because now the states have to carry the burden of keeping people housed, fed, insured, right? It's causing a lot of people to rethink where they live. Now, I want to read you something else. This right here is from a Forbes article. It's this article right here. It says, examining the cost of living by state in 2024. This was just done 2 days ago on June 17th. Now, the reason I want to show you this is because they have some very interesting takeaways. I want to read you all these because this right here is going to open your eyes as to which states are potentially better for which reasons and what it's costing you to live in those states. Look at this. So these are the key takeaways. Hawaii claimed the top spot as the most expensive state in terms of cost of living, with the average annual expenditure of $55,491. Additionally, residents in the Aloha state have the lowest disposable income available annually at $9,550. It says Mississippi stood out as the low with its low cost of living. Residents spend on average $32,336 per year on essential expenses. Those are things like, food, transportation, medicine, housing, right? All those. Let's keep reading. It says, while Washington had the 8th highest cost of living nationwide at $47,231, its residents had the most disposable income. On average, residents of the Evergreen State have $30,893 left over after paying key expenses annually. Keep in mind, I do live in Washington State. Keep in mind the majority of the income is coming from the King County and the Seattle area, the west side of the state. Okay, not the central part, not the east. It's coming from the west side. All right, just keep that in mind. Let's keep reading. It says Massachusetts has the highest average annual salary at $80,329, while Mississippi had the lowest at $47,569. Hawaii ranked highest for transportation costs at $7,458 per year, a $3,037 difference compared to Rhode Island, the most budget-friendly state for transportation. Goes on to say West Virginia residents spend on average $752 on median monthly housing costs. This is across all renters and homeowners. In stark contrast to California, the highest ranked state in this category, whose residents spent $2,111. It says Alaska had the highest food prices, averaging $5,970 annually. In contrast, Oklahoma residents spent only $3,683 per year, or $2,287 less than Alaska. Also goes on to say Alaska led in the healthcare costs, spending $13,188 on average. Utah is the most cost-effective, with an average expenditure of only $7,241. So again, the reason why I wanted to show you that is to give you an idea of which states cost more to live in for what reason, and which states are less expensive. But again, the interesting thing right now is the biggest expense everybody has. This is nothing new. This is no secret. It is your cost of living, but it is your home. Your home is the most expensive thing you will ever purchase for most people. That means either your mortgage or your rent is the most expensive bill that you pay every single month. But again, let me ask you, are you considered cost burdened or house poor? Let me know down in the comment section below. And again, if you can say how much you are paying every single month in a percentage, you don't got to tell me dollar wise, in a percentage. If you're paying 5%, wonderful. If you're paying 10%, great. If you're paying 90%, well, that's pretty steep. but I'm hoping you're doing just fine. So I will leave you with that. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.